Hi and welcome everyone. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is Monday, June 21st, 2021. And today's topic is called Phoenix Solar in Quotes Flyby. It's a collection of images and sky observations happening June 14th to the 18th, 2021. And a big and belated happy summer solstice to all of you in the Northern Hemisphere, or to any summer solstice enthusiasts right now in the Southern Hemisphere. Happy winter to you otherwise. Before we get into this show, I just noticed that the skies over Miami were really, really strange around everything having to do with the sun. So this is an unusual show in that it's really going to be intensive covering the sun and what's going around to mask it and going on around it. And if you've watched any of my previous shows, you might understand where we might be headed to when I use solar in quotes. But anyway, let's get into this show, and before we do, I'd like to say good day, osio, how, buongiorno, guten tag, kia ora, jambo, kedu, buenos dias, bonjour, ni hao, dzień dobry, konnichiwa, dobrowania, annyeonghaseyo, botarji, dobry den, aloha winala, kalimera, guten dag, and good day. And I'd like to say that if you're watching the show from somewhere in the world and I don't have your greeting and your language reflected here below, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to add it to the list and include it from now on. This is a scene of a royal poinciana and glorious bloom. It's also known as a flame tree. I've only known it, though, by the royal poinciana in my area, in Miami, Florida. It does seem to be blooming much later than usual, by I'd say 2 or 3 months. And also the arrival of our northern red cardinal seems to pair and match that, kind of go in tandem with that. So I do believe it has to do with the extreme, lack of water, let's just say, lack of precipitation and rain that we've been having, especially in the last, I'd say, 3 to 5 years. It's been really keen. Anyway, we had a little more water activity pick up, and so we had a return of all of this, which thank goodness. Anyway, let's get into the sky observations. And before actually we head there, I'm going to catch myself because I added a new little featurette within this show. And it's just going to be a sheet or maybe a couple of slides mixed in called Words, Wisdom, and Spirit of the Day. So just if I happen upon any quotes or any inspirational things or just anything that kind of catches me to share with you, I'm going to do it. So in this case, I felt compelled to put the symbols of the 4 elements, or you can throw in the 5th element of spirit and ether there on the left-hand side. And I just came across these things. This is a panther, an earth sign from an oracle or meditation deck called the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit deck. And according to that deck, they just explain for the panther symbolism that it's an annihilation of the unnecessary or purging. So whatever that means to you today. I'm not going to go over the symbolism in the card in detail. I just want to leave it there. So just look at the overall panther, see if anything jumps out at you as far as color or the patterning in the background or anything that might have a meaning to you intuitively. I did mask out the mouth a little bit because it just seemed a little excessively intimidating and not communicate really what I was feeling about this card. So I just did my own little edit. But anyway, and this other quote now comes from a different deck called the Daily Crystal Inspiration Oracle deck, and it just says, when you open your heart and trust yourself, the universe will always guide you in the right direction. And I just want to add, yes, that is usually true, even if it seems like the wrong direction. It really is always the right direction when you look back at things later. Anyway, let's move on. So this is just dropping it in. If it means anything to anyone out there, great. All right, now we're going to go get into the sky observations. And if you're new or returning, thank you for being here. And big heartfelt thanks for being here. If you're new, great, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome. And if you are returning, you may want to skip this next bit. If you're new, I'm just going to go over some of the basics of what I cover on the show and why. And basically, I am just directly observing things happening in the skies over Miami, usually very strange things, or things that can't be explained, or just really weird little anomalies, or just, things worthwhile to wonder at, like the, vibrant colors or whatnot. So you'll see what I mean coming up. Anyway, I'm going to cover just some slides and walk through and narrate them, and they will be called original photos or enhanced photos. When I say enhanced, I just mean that I've edited attributes of the photo, such as brightness, contrast, color, saturation, things of that nature. And I do that just to better get at what might be happening in any given scene, given the extraordinary and wonderful photo and light sensitivity range on these camera phones, because all of this is just taken with camera phones, a camera phone. And you'll see what I mean in a minute if you're not familiar with the format of the show. Anyway, I also drop in letters to help better kind of key in to the areas of interest and keep me focused as well. And in some photos, there's so much going on, I just kind of pull out the things that really jumped out first, just the, kind of the highlights. You're going to see a lot more going on than I even cover. And it's very, very possible I might miss something even big. It's just because there's a lot going on, and I just go wherever the scene pulls me, so to speak. Anyway, you're going to see in the lower right-hand corner, I'm just calling everything strange cloud and quotes activity, because I've been observing the skies intently over the past 3 years, and actually my whole life, but especially in the last 3 years. And I've just noticed a lot of strange things happening with quote-unquote cloud. In a lot of cases, it seems very artificial. In other cases, I've seen cloaking craft. And so that cloud and quote material might be something that I use as my go-to term as a cloaking material as plasma. And I'm referring to anything that's just heavier or denser than just water vapor or cloud material that hangs in the sky and lingers much longer and has a very different characteristic to it. Can I prove that it's plasma? No, I don't have a scientific equipment nor a craft to go up and tell you that. However, that's just my intuitive feeling, and that's the word I'm going to refer to as that material. Okay, there's going to be much more to tell you, but I think we'll just continue on now, and I'll cover it as we go through some of these slides. Now, in this case, I'm just looking at an overall scene, looking east at sunrise, and right off the bat, I've covered this in other shows. I'm going to mention it briefly here for anybody who already knows this to the nth degree. But the character of the sun over the skies of Florida, over Miami anyway in particular, has been really strange over the past, 5 to 10 years especially. It's turned into this white, fixed, glaring, intensely glaring light source. It no longer looks like the original sun, I'm going to call it, that used to be, warm and yellow and slightly pulsing. It had a very healing, let's just say very healing light quality emanating out of it. So if you laid out in the sun or were fishing or going about your business outside, the sun would warm the skin and even burn it differently than what's happening now. I just talked to a whole group of kids camping, and they got burned doing daily activities in a way that I have never noticed before in South Florida. I have other friends from other countries tell me they were on the beach and their shoulders were radiated in a way that normally the tan would, the sun would fade out to a tan the next day, and in this case they were equally red and intensely burned, like for a full week. So there are changes happening with the sun, quote-unquote sun. I've covered on previous shows the idea, not only the idea, but the actuality of a solar simulator or artificial sun, solar technology put up in the skies to mask out our ability to perceive the original sun. And I do recommend that you look at previous shows that I've done, and also the host of other wonderful YouTube Earth and Sky watching channels out there that cover this, and you can tell which ones are authentic and which ones are not. So anyway, go to the ones that are people just like yourself or myself going outside and observing. And if you're not doing it already, like I say, I really hope everyone's going out at least 2 to 5 minutes every day. It doesn't take long, just to really scan the area around you 360 in the skies. Pay particular attention to the cloud shapes and the heights, the altitudes, and just the behaviors of how they're moving through the sky. Notice the sun quality. Just really observe around you and start to notice these things. And I'm doing this show just so hopefully other people are kind of noticing what I'm noticing. Some things were just happening that were so darn strange, I had to document them and share them with others and say, hey, you guys seeing what I'm seeing where you are, wherever you are in the world. Anyway, enough about all of that. Let's get into this. So I've just flagged here, A through E, and I'm not going to belabor every point since I had a longer intro than normal. But we have the strange quality of this quote-unquote sun. Oh, sorry, one more tidbit on that. Solar simulator, look it up on the internet. If you look up patents that were pulled for solar simulator, you will see some pulled like in 1960, 61, and I'm sure this tech was out much earlier. Anyway, have fun looking around there, and we're going to look at that. So we already covered that, my thoughts on that white glaring, whatever this is, sun in quotes. Then we look at E up above, and just really strange texture starts to pop out here with shadow to it too. So that might be cloaking craft. And when I say craft, I'm talking about something that could be 3D, that you could walk up and touch it, knock on it, that kind of thing, very tactile. Or it could be something very interdimensional, very ephemeral, it kind of comes and goes, very ghost-like. Or it could be something that's 3D, that's phasing in and out of state at that moment that we catch it. Also, yes, I'm talking about this craft is ET, more than likely ET crafted, or by some advanced beingness that we don't quite understand and can't quite label. Or it could be also something that is human-made, a la military fabrication, or done in collaboration with ETs. I fully believe this is possible. Anyway, this looks like something that isn't quite natural. And when I'm going to be pointing out some craft coming up, it just means that I've been noticing a lot of very perfect geometries in the sky, like triangles, hexagons, rectangles, squares, things that you wouldn't normally see in nature in the clouds over the past several decades that I've been living on this planet, and I've been noticing stark changes. Anyway, okay, let's keep moving on. So B, this was just an odd little shape. It looks like these two spokes coming out of nowhere. They're very rigid and very symmetrical. And then here we've got an unusual shape for a cloud forming, and the same thing at D. So let's look at it with enhancement. And this is what I mean. So when we do enhancement, now we see this white glaring quality while everything else has a little bit of a warmer tone. Especially down here, this golden area is what I think is the evidence of our original sun shining out behind from this glaring white body in front. And anyway, we have different color signatures. We have weird things starting to pop up here. This B.1 figure has me very intrigued. Something solid. It looks like there's some kind of tufted material, plasma or something beyond it. And look at C.1 again. That's not a natural cloud with like this arm flinging out from the side. So let's keep looking. And actually, before we get into the rest of the sky observations, I'm dropping in another words of wisdom slide. If you look between the two, I'm going to toggle back and forth. You see this beautiful piece of labradorite, and that just reminds me of some of the color ranges and things here, plus the shape, kind of, the oval. And then I picked another animal spirit card and happened to get the dragon, and that's correlating with the spirit or ether. And there's so much symbolism with the dragon, and depending on what camp you're from, you'll interpret what the dragon means to you in very different ways. For me, for now, I just want to cover the aspect of it as being the ancient wisdom type of dragon. So on my last show on the cover, a huge dragon popped up, and again, I know it's a mixed bag. Some people feel it's just the outright demon. Other people know that it carries great ancient wisdoms, and so can it be good in quotes or bad in quotes? Yes, it can also be neutral, and kind of, the yin and yang principle of balancing the universe. So I'm going with right now the spiritual quality of this as being, the ancient wisdoms, the very positive aspect of it. There's so much symbolism around that I'm not going to get into today, but this comes from the same deck that I mentioned from before, and this one comes from the crystal deck I mentioned from before. And in this case, labradorite is just talking about seeing the magic, and I highly recommend you look up the healing properties of this stone throughout time. It's a beautiful stone, can be considered one of magic and protection, and it really carries some gorgeous energies with it. And it really also, has to do with aspects of stimulating the imagination, and there's just so much more to it. So have a look around there. See for now if anything pops out and has any meaning for you, whether it's color or other symbolisms. And again, I dropped in the symbols for the four elements and the fifth element just because I felt like I should do that. Anyway, let's keep going. Now we're going to get back into our strange cloud and quotes activity, and the overall scene, the cloud seems to be disturbed in weird ways. And look at F. We'll look at the enhanced version to see this more clearly, but there seemed to be like a circular element that left an imprint here, as if this thing was sitting here and then zoomed out. It's like almost a perfect match. Just was strange. Then we have that E element again, where we had some structure popping up, the bright and glaring white fixed element here at 8.2, and then these two elements down below. So let's look with some enhancement. And 8.3 gets to be, we see some structure. We see two equidistant points that look symmetrical of whatever this clump is. So I don't know if that's a craft or something else. And then we see the F element, a little bit better, the brighter point where this thing might have emerged out of. And then see, at B.3, we jump over to B.4. I just enhanced it and zoomed in a little bit more. To me, it just looks almost like this little character, like if you know the story, it's Tove Jansson, called The Mummins. And it talks about like this little hippo-like creature with these ears. That's what it reminds me of, one sitting there looking off into the distance. Anyway, C.3 still, looking strange. I can't quite define what that is. Let's keep going. I move in a little more, so if you're on a bigger screen, this is going to get very bitmappy. If you're on a handheld device, it might make more sense and have more clarity. So I also recommend that if you have the ability to do this, if you have a bigger screen and then like a smaller screen, try to watch the show on both and like look back and forth, because you're going to see some very different things when it's up on a bigger screen versus a smaller screen in terms of scale and perspective when you see it. Anyway, this is just going in one more time to see if we can draw out anything more from this circular element and then this thing. And I don't get it up too much more other than these two holes do look symmetrical to me. So this looks like it has intelligent design to it, whether it is, like 3D type hard tech, if you will, or an organism of some type. I don't know. See what feeling you get off of it and see what you think. And as always with all of these, I'm just going over what I see from my perspective and my experiences in life from a very design and technology intensive background, and just a nature observer in general. But see what you think. Something entirely different may pop out for you on these photos. And if you have any fun and interesting angles, whether it's, based on anything, really concrete or just fantastical and fun, and you feel like it, let me know in the comment section below. All right, on the left-hand side, we have the original photo. Things just felt weird with the movement in the sky, and then some of the, geometries presenting and textures just were very unusual for the area. So I enhanced it on the right-hand side, and then, we just see a little bit more texture. Just looks like something's happening. Again, we got like these holes, and a hole up here. So with a separator here, which this looks symmetrical to me as well. And, just odd things that strangely they look organic and natural, but yet they also look like they have intelligent design to them. So see what you think is happening. All right, now we get to our phoenix and more of the images now that are on the cover slide. And so I hope you can see it. To me, this is the phoenix kind of flying over, if you will. I didn't really see it as descending or ascending. It looked like it was just heading over and doing a solar flyby. And so look at the structure. This just reminded me of two great wings heading straight up, and this would be the tail and the legs, and then the chest, of the phoenix, and then the head and the beak. So if you see what I'm seeing, it's the bird flying level over, with these great mighty wings, heading up almost like in a V or victory pattern, if you will. And so we're going to look to the right at enhancement. So it's going over this white and glaring thing that I'm calling the sun in quotes. At B.1, we have evidence of a bright, bright white-blue ball, which is not the sun. It's happening in front of whatever is illuminating beyond. And I'm going to say this is even called the second sun, which we'll get into. There's a phenomenon known as the second sun. I've covered it with direct evidence, just with the camera phone, on previous shows, and so do countless other sky and earth watchers all over YouTube. Anyway, that means that there's a little sun happening in front of what is, I think, also fake technology sun. And then again, we can see the warmer glow of what I think the original sun is happening behind all of this mess that's trying to come up and is being masked. And then we got the white artificial impression happening above. And then we always have this convenient cloud material that comes in and masks the sun as it's rising or setting. And that's also been, categorized and shown around the world with direct evidence on YouTube and other places. Anyway, so we have our bird, I'll just say bird, phoenix, flying over. And you can see, again, what it looks like wing structure. It's crazy. It's beautiful. And then above, the sky is so disturbed if you look at it in weird, weird ways. And so when you look on the left-hand side, that's the way it is. So to the naked eye, it's everything else is in focus. This is something happening up in the sky, and you can see it. So when I see something that looks blurry and choppy and strange, I call that staccato cloud activity. And it's nothing I grew up with being here decades on the planet. Anyway, on the right, we see some of the structure happening there, and I think that is caused by some type of craft happening above that's generating either electromagnetic wave activity or some other kind of wave pulses to do this. And especially when you see, some strange color signatures happening in and among the cloud, which we'll see later, I'm going to say that. Anyway, let's move along. Here's another view, an impression of this. So again, I think that's like the great tail. That's the head looking down and the chest, and then the wings, spreading straight up. And we're going to be looking at F here, which I'm saying second suns, because there's what I'm calling the artificial sun here, and then one happening in front, which is the second sun phenomenon, and other objects being witnessed around the sun lately. And they might be orbiting around the sun. I'm not sure if they are organic and natural or artificial in nature, but you definitely see them. They have either their own luminosity or they are reflecting off of something. So I can't tell you the definitive answer on that, but I can tell you I've been seeing a separate body in front of what's supposed to be the sun, and then the impression of a golden sun, more like our original sun beyond. So let's look at this with some enhancement. Here's that golden activity. Here's that white, blue, white ball, almost a different color signature here as well. And now our phoenix is picking up some red and reddish, pink activity. And I talk about that, or not activity, but color ranges. I talk about what could be causing this red-pink in the description box below, so have a look down there and look at the many possibilities of what could be generating that, and also look around online and see what you find and put together your own theory of what is happening in our skies that just was not happening before, let's just say. All right, we're going to keep moving on. There's so much happening in that previous scene, but I'm going to have to skip over and leave that to you on your own time. Hopefully you'll have some more time to really look at some of these photos to really, zoom in and see what you see in them. All right, now we're going to zoom in on this, head and chest of this, phoenix with the wings going up. And we just see some weird things. So I'm just calling them, capital A, subletter A, B, and C for now. We've got this weird stick-like element popping through. So we're going to look to the right at the enhanced version just to focus on this grouping above in the photo. And I just see some weird shapes that hold true, even though I've blown out some of the brightness on it. And so it looks like solid elements happening in here. And we get some bright white points, and I cover that on every show, I know. But when I see bright white points poking out when the rest of the background has a color or is gray, that shows me there's some type of tech, or like these could be little sensors floating in front of something else, or these could be objects attached to Cloak and Craft Beyond sticking out. Anyways, see what you think. Okay, now we're going to still, if you follow my cursor on the left, there's the head of the quote-unquote bird, the wings going up. And then down here it starts to get weird. So we get this really stick-like elements, popping out. We get like a hard angle here. Just really strange. This almost looks like some plasma materials being, like artificial clouds being pumped out of here, to cover this thing. And look at all the weird texture happening beyond. So we look to the right and we see that texture much more clearly. And I'm going to keep moving on for time's sake. See what you think and see what you can find in this kind of scene as well. It's some really weird, distinct texture with symmetry in it too. So I tend to think there's something cloaking going on back there, probably on a much bigger scale as well. Okay, so here we're looking at that overall scene. Now we're jumping back out, and here we have, that weird texture we were just looking at, and that stick-like element. And then we look along here, along the rim of whatever this massive, like, concealing cloud, blanketing cloud is starting to move in to cover whatever's going on with the quote-unquote sun. We have a sharp angle happening here, like a perfectly straight edge. That doesn't happen in nature with clouds. We have these weird little activities happening here along the fringe, along the rim. That looks like a little pipe-like shape, the end of a pipe happening here. So we're going to look with enhancement. Again, I see a clear end of a pipe here. I see some other kind of tech element popping out here. I see some strangeness happening all along here. Really investigate on your own too. This looks like a fish, like a goldfish shape. C.1, we have a darker imprint happening beyond here. And again, I'm just kind of looking at kind of a backlit effect of what could be happening all in here. It's just so strange. Has distinct structure. We even have like a triangle emerging, triangular shape popping out in the back here. See what you think is happening. I think this is all disturbed activity of some kind of strange cloak, cloaking several different objects, like back here and back here, like a collection of objects, forming an overall thing, just to be, cloaked, disguised, camouflaged. Looks like something's happening back in here as well. All right, now we're going to just look at that fringe. Let me go back. We're going to look down here now in this area of the photo. And I'm going to pass over this pretty quickly, but there you can see that little goldfish element. But let's look with some enhancement again. That looks like an object, that's not a natural cloud form. This too looks strange. It looks symmetrical, like a bulbous element on each side with the little valley in between, very symmetrical with a straight edge. This starts to get very interesting. This looks like structure popping out with shadow and dimension to it. And this looks like the tip of something, so this could be the edge of a larger overall assembly. This could all be one thing, or it could be several parts. Have a look on your own and see what you think. And here we have the literally glaringly obvious artificial light source happening here, bright white intense, and immediately below it, this divide of this cloud, not placed there on accident. We have the warmer glow happening below. Okay, now I have really look at A up here, okay? So this is a panorama. It's going to distort the view a little bit and bow it a little bit at the top, but you get the idea. So to the right is looking to the south, to the left is to the north, and we're looking to the east straight on. So here's our little phoenix, the two wings and the body happening down here. Now, I say look at A because look what we've got. We've got a triangular form incised. Look at that incision line cut around, forming the edge of this perfect line, perfect line. So that's a huge overall triangular shape with rounded corners, rounded edges. And then we have like a darker smudge print, happening here beyond. It looks like a darker body of a specific shape. And then we have a cutout here. This looks like a triangular imprint happening beyond. So there's a lot of things happening in the sky. And again, look at all the different structures and patterning types. This is a tight knit pattern right next to this looser pattern. Really, specific pattern happening here too. When you have all this collection of so many different types of things happening in the sky, I gotta say there's got to be some type of craft activity involved above. All right, so now we're going to look at that same scene. Really look at 8.1. Here we go again. There's that clean incision mark, and it's a little rough, but it's a definite shape, and it pops out here. And I'm pretty sure that's got to be symmetrical, as most of these things are, especially with triangular shapes popping up in the sky. And over here we start to see kind of the same shape. It's got that little rounded edge popping out at the bottom, but more in an imprint or the void, formed by the cloud activity here. Cloud in quotes, meaning artificial cloud or plasma or whatever that is. Anyway, let's keep looking. So now we're getting into a different part of the area of Miami, much further south. We're looking southwest, and I just happened to be driving and noticed this kind of brewing in the sky. And what looked weird was not only the way this is, forming a clean line down here and curving, but it also kind of cascades and echoes that curve. So I thought, okay, we got to take a picture of this. And also, the weird activity happening up here. It's just very different cloud and quote activity than what's happening here. Then we have this thing diving down to, I didn't mention before, there's also a sky wisp or air elemental phenomenon happening as well. Doesn't always mean that it's some type of craft-generated artificial cloud, but it also could be something of more supernatural in nature, and I covered that on previous shows. Anyway, look to the right, and the striking thing about this is not only the overall form, which just struck me as odd, also these little bits of pure white happening, and then these darker imprint happening beyond. But also the color signature. We get that red-pink, and again, I'm not going to go over what that is. I'm just going to refer you to take a look down in the description box below where I cover what that could be. Okay, now this is looking east, and this is again in the morning hours, so around 7 in the morning. And what's strange is we get this bright light source. So actually, let's hop over to the right-hand side and look at the enhanced version. Pure white, okay, and to me that's that artificial sun activity, because down below we've got that golden glow, and that would be more like the original sun. And just by placement alone in the sky, B.1 is too high in the sky to be the sun at this hour of sunrise. The natural position would be down here. So that's why I say we've got, original sun and then some other artificial tech happening slightly above. And what happens is the original sun rises, big dark clouds move over, and then the merging of this to overtake, the golden part happens, and then you only see the white glaring sun going up. Anyway, let's keep going. That's that big white patch. We'll look at, I'm just calling overall A. Look at this strange, that's not normal cloud activity, really, really weird. And then we get structure happening in here. I don't know what that thing is, but you see these two prongs coming through. Just really bizarre. Something happening weird down here too. All right, we're going to look at this scene now looking southeast. The left is the original, the right's the enhanced version. Let's just jump over to the enhanced. We see weird little structural things happening here, little cutouts and whatever this thing is. And then look at C.1. That's something bulging out. It's got a shadow to it. It's got some interesting structure to it. Then we've got these things radiating out equidistant around this form or hole. I don't know if that's an object or a hole right in here. But look at, we have this thing like petals around a flower. There's like a hole here and a hole here. See what you think is going on? Then we got these rigid little structures happening here. I'm saying there's a whole host of craft activity. Look at these shapes too happening here in the background. And again, the choppiness is no accident. To me, that's craft creating a disturbance to mask all of this activity. See what you think, though. All right, we're going to zoom in a little bit more on the C.2, and especially in that element in particular. I'm going to leave the rest to you to have a look around and see what you think with the shapes and everything, and look at the different color signatures. This is more red pink, and we got gold, and we got like that artificial, like, or ephemeral, not ephemeral, ethereal, like white blue kind of light quality happening up here. We're going to jump to C.3, and we see that element with that bulge, with that edge and the shadow and the bright point. To me, that's like structure. That's something popping out of here. So see what you think is happening. Now, the left-hand side, I just felt something was really weird going on. It was very subtle, though, but we have these repeating patterns of lines all parallel. Something strange happening here, so I really wanted to check it out with enhancement. So we look to the right, and sure enough, we see different color signatures happening all over the place. Weird little structures popping out, things with shadow. I don't have any answers on this one, just more questions than answers, but have a look and see what you can find in there. Then, this was just so bizarre looking east. As I mentioned at the very beginning, the overall sky quality all week leading up to the summer solstice was weird, especially pertaining to the sun. Things were looking masked out, very cloudy. Sun was doing really different things, weird things. So A is supposed to be the sun. Again, I believe that's evidence of the solar simulator. The natural sun doesn't just go down to a pinpoint, even if it's masked by cloud. It was just strange. There seemed to be a different color signature happening here beyond. So again, it just more had a feeling of this overall scene than what you can actually see, other than little evidence of little things bulging out or different color, darker color. So let's look with enhancement. That's the part I wanted to get to. And here we have this again. This kind of stays fixed in a totally different color signature. Then we got that red-pink kind of trying to come through. And then we have darker objects seem to be masked in here and hiding. And so I think there's cloak and craft going on over here. Then another weird mask out situation. We have some, again, repeating wave patterns happening here, which is unusual. And then we have this dark mass moving in that's also very masked. But look at it. It's taking on a very rigid form. And again, no accident that it's kind of passing over what's supposed to be the sun. And we look at that with enhancement, and we can see that in better form. That's no natural cloud activity. And it gets really kind of disturbed in weird ways at the very fringe. So I'm saying that's artificial. It has a very artificially formed feel to it. All right, now we're going to look at more strange cloud activity. On the left, it just felt really bizarre. We get these darker point impressions, darker imprints happening beyond. We have these like little curved legs popping off of this thing. It was strange. So let's jump over to the right. And also, of course, the elephant in the room is this bright white glaring thing. Again, I'll say sun in quotes. Anyway, we've got the red-pink color signature, the staccato cloud activity. We've got repeating ripple waves. We have sky imprints. Look at E.1. That's a right angle. These are right angles happening here. That does not happen in nature in the clouds. So there's got to be some kind of tech cloaking back here. That's all I'm going to say. And then D.1, again, this is a strange thing. Look at these parallel curved, equally matched legs of some type. So I'm going to call that some type of cloaking craft as well. B.1 gets real interesting because we have an elliptical shape. And look at these holes. They're symmetrical with a thing, dividing them. See what you think is happening in this scene. We're going to zoom in a similar angle of this, and we get the sky, like a darker imprint of something cloaking, I believe, at B.2. Same thing at A.2, this darker body. Here's a little friend with the curved legs dangling. Again, look how straight this thing is. It's like, a cylinder or an elongated rectangle with something happening off the top of it, I'd say. So, that's got to be artificial. Nothing happens this straight, and also not on this angle when nothing else is doing that in the sky. We've had little weird things happening beyond. See what you think. Okay, now I know this is a little random, but this is just in the order of appearance of what I was noticing. Driving along, after seeing that other scene in the sky, I see this. So I'm just saying this is a beautiful peahen and intelligent because it's earthing. So it has the choice to walk on the ground in the grass, the nature, or the hard concrete sidewalk, and it's making the right choice to get the nice energies from the earth, I'd say. All right, now we're going to go back up into the skies and look at this. Okay, we're looking east. This is now after 9 o'clock in the morning. What is this thing at A? Okay, tell me, what is this thing? So we have the tip of something. Is it standalone, or is this part of a more massive arrowhead-shaped craft? That's what I'm going to say. At B, we start to see evidence of an actual pure triangle, maybe overlaid over whatever this thing is. Let's look to the right and see if we see anything better. At B.1, I still see a dark imprint of a triangle happening beyond. I see that this staccato activity happening. And this thing stays true, though, this very dark object. So let's have a look. Also be mindful of the color signatures, so we get a little bit of hint of that red-pink happening and the golden glow below. All right, so we're going to zoom in on just that weird, strange feature. A.2, we see some, you know, just interesting textures, I'll just say, for now. It's a little hard to get at what's going on in this view. Oh, ignore this. I have a little repeat on the letter. But let's move along, see if we can see anything better at any different scale or perspective. So here on the left, again, I see this is looking like a one more massive object gliding in and moving down, not coincidentally, right over the sun. Okay? Actually, this moment reminds me a little bit, if you've watched The Force Awakens Star Wars, of one of the intro scenes. It's in reverse when the craft is moving upward and then it blocks out whatever planet is shining behind. It's kind of a reverse moment here where this is coming down and trying to obscure whatever light source this is over here. Anyway, we look to the right hand side, and again, this is looking more and more like object, actually kite shaped on the back. We see a light wider point with some shadow to it popping up that looks like some designed feature to me. And just the whole thing is bizarre. I still can't quite get at what is this thing popping out, heading down to mask out the quote-unquote sun. We'll get there in a minute and a zoom in. But anyway, we still have other weird dark objects, just a whole host of strangeness. Look at this, whatever texture is happening here at C.1, really strange. Here we're zooming in on that peak of the tip of that one element. And again, on the left, we just see it's really strange, starting to form really strange, precisely over where the quote-unquote sun is. Look to the right, we have different color signatures. We have kind of like a crescent shape with a weird bent bar, and then this. So this has design to it. This is like a rectangular shape for sure, with something else maybe masked over it, or it morphs into another shape. I don't know, but you cannot call this natural in the cloud in the cloud scene, in the cloudscape. So see what you think this whole thing is. All right, then we have another more panorama-oriented scene. It's a little blurry and fuzzy, but I was really just trying to capture what's going on around this thing, and with this thing emerging. And to the right, we just had a whole different kind of cloud system moving in toward the left when we had a very different cloud activity happening over here. So to me, it was very obvious something artificial was moving in to mask out the sun, quote-unquote sun. And here we go. Look at all this strange activity. I'm not going to go call everything out by name, but we get something weird and block-like happening here. Got something masked and hidden behind this stuff, at C.1. Have a triangular shape happening here, kind of in shadow. Again, what's going on with 8.1? We've got a stick with a thing at the end of it and something happening here. See what you think is going on. All right, now we're going to keep looking at this area because there's just so much happening. And here, look at this overall shape. Let's jump to the right. Look at this. It has dark, straight edge lines to it, whatever it is. That's an object. What else could it be? Again, let me know if you have any other ideas. And down here too, looking very object-like. So see what you think is going on. And now here, this is at B, that's the second sun phenomenon where we have a clear ball happening in front of other, illumination. And you can see it very clearly. That would not be the sun. You would never be able to perceive it that way with the naked eye. And it has a very different, that cool, white-blue signature. Well, we've got something else, warmer light signature happening beyond, and that weird object moving in. Okay, let's keep looking at the scene now. That little second sun and sun is totally masked out by all this crazy activity moving all around and agitated around. We start to see like clear, separate little bodies happening, so let's look with some enhancement. And look at that purple signature, shows definitely something of a different, warmth signature, let's just say. Different kind of cloaking happening, plasma happening tufted around it. These are, different separate entities. This is kind of going up on an angle. That wouldn't happen in nature. Just strange. We still have this presence of this darker imprint or body, like triangular in shape, happening beyond. Weird little thing happening over here down in the lower left. See what you think's going on in this scene. There's a whole lot more to discover there, so I recommend you look on your own time when you have some more time to do so. On the left-hand side, I'm noticing strange wave activity in the sky again, disturbed patterns. So I look to the right with some enhancement. You can see these, straight lines, parallel, seem to be attached to a bigger object now this time, like a pointed elliptical object. Weird things popping up out of here. Again, things that look like they have structure to them. And the red-pink signature. And then I'm zooming in. I know it's a bit mappy on a big screen, but there seems to be like a whole element. I'm not sure what's going on, but it seems like separate little cloaking bodies going on behind it beyond. See what you think is going on. Now, here's another, again, direct observation of our second sun or other object. Is it natural? Is it artificial? This little thing popping in front of like a bigger illumination source beyond, which I think is also artificial. I think this is artificial, but anyway, see what you think. Then we start to see something coming in right again, not by coincidence, right in front of this quote-unquote solar source. So let's look with some enhancement. And again, we see a very different color signature popping off of this little thing versus whatever's illuminating behind. And no accident that this specific triangular shape now is popping up and it's going to cover up that little sunball, whatever it is. And then we have a perfect diamond shape, triangular shape. What is this? It looks like prongs are holding this thing in place, coming off of an arm. Again, see what you think is going on. A lot of strangeness. We're going to zoom in. I'm removing all colors so we're not distracted by it, and hopefully we can see the scene in a different way and see what you think is going on. But we've got like this little wishbone split element, prong element, like holding this thing. Looks like it's coming down to hold it in perfect position over this thing, but see what you think is happening. Okay, this one again on the left, I just noticed in the sky, things were looking weird. We have these bars coming down on angle, parallel to each other, while we have all this choppy activity, this moving in a different way. It just was strange. So we look to the right, enhanced version, and boy, we really see these stick elements, whatever they are, and we see this shape, a very clear symmetrical shape that isn't natural to the sky. Host of, disturbed atmosphere happening here. Look at this shape coming down here. Looks actually similar to this one, just in a different position. But has symmetry, looks very much like that has intelligent design to it. And again, we have the red-pink signature. All right, now we're looking at another second sun or other object. What is it? Natural, artificial. Here it is again, with a bigger illumination source happening beyond. We look to the right. We see a host of different color signatures and activities happening in this one. But I'm going to move along and leave this one to you to look more in your own time. Here was just a strange object, or, not object per se. Just looking at it had a whole different character and color and altitude and everything, this thing. Again, not coincidentally kind of drifting in front of the view of the quote-unquote sun. We've got an imprint happening here at A with a straight edge. Looks like a, triangle being cloaked back there. We look to the right with enhancement. And again, this like strange oddball cloud, looks like it has structure in there. And, it doesn't just look like a natural cloud in any shape or form. And it has its own little color signature. So once again, take a really good look. We got little things popping out here that look like object at D.1. See what you think is going on in that scene. And we're going to take another view here looking to the east at 7:50 a.m. This one was strange because not only was this that white glaring light source, but we had little weird things popping up out of the cloud that looked like they had structure to them. And then we have this overall kind of interlayering of, it looks like almost like interdimensional, this kind of maybe walnut-shaped thing. It's lighter, whiter than the rest, and it looks like it might be phasing in and out. Let's look with some enhancement. I couldn't really get too much more of what's going on here, but you definitely see like a light, whiter, very transparent shape happening behind this cluster and in front of this other stuff, so I'm not sure what's going on right there. Then at 8.1 we see some little elements, just little oddities all around. Even in here we have some structural elements somehow. Again, look at this on your own time and see what you find in that scene. Okay, then this one was odd, again looking east. Excuse me, 1 second. Okay, I'm back. This again was just odd looking east. We have this like little odd man out, I'll say. That doesn't even look like a real cloud. Looks very artificial. It's at a sharp angle when everything else should just be kind of gliding along. It has like this weird, splay off of this like cloaking material tufted around it. So that's why I say I think that's a craft cloaking in there. So we'll look to the right with some enhancement. I really couldn't get at too much, what was going on here. But I do start to see some darker imprints and weird oddities happening, within the sky. Again, have a look at this one, see what you find. And then this is just the same view zoomed in with some different kind of color saturation on it, just to see if we can see anything in a new way. And I don't really see anything else other than I know that is not a natural cloud. I've got weird stuff happening here beyond as well. And see what you can find in this one. Alright, and this is just another scene where things look disturbed in strange ways in the sky with different color signatures, and I invite you to kind of look at where I've labeled to see if you can see some of the things I'm seeing. But what caught my attention on the overall photo was looking at A, where we have a sharp line, something was looking very triangular in the sky. And then similar scene looking south, we have an incision mark making a triangular form. You look on the right hand side, you see it very clearly there too. Again, we get that weird signature, red-pink happening here. Fuzzy weird things happening off to the left, the lower left of this thing, and this straight line coming down. So it looks like this red-pink ball just came zooming down with this like as a trail behind it or something. Okay, then we're looking west this time, and I think we're looking west. Hang on. Yes, we are. And just again, weirdness, second sun happening, artificial light, white light happening up behind here with a triangular form at sea. So we'll look to the right, and here we see it. Triangular form, and that bluish white light is what would be the second sun that I'm calling it. And the warmer tone, slightly different, artificial text sun. And here you see the glow of what might be the original sun, with this thing, this whole mess tracking in front of our sun as it moves through the sky to hide it. That's what I think is happening. Anyway, here's another view looking west and up, and just weird little structural elements seem to pop out that seem to have regularity to the spacing of what's going on beyond here. I saw this like brighter outline of something happening here, so I thought, okay, let's take a look with enhancement, and bam, we see that big red-pink signature happening there, while this is really bright in front. So that tells me there's just strange otherworldly activity going on in here. And then we look down at C.1, and that has definite structure to it. I don't know exactly what's happening there, but I know that's not natural to happen in a natural cloud system in the skies over Miami, Florida, period. E.1 looks like a shadowy triangle, and there's a bunch of other little triangles and things happening all over the place. See what else you see in there. Then this is now flipping around and looking to the east, and I noticed this strange movement and strange shapes. We're going to look at it with enhancement, and voila, look at this. This is definitely some kind of designed activity, cloaked, and with other things happening, cloaking beyond here. And we're going to zoom out and look at the overall scene. If you look at the right-hand side, you see it better. The left is the original. Look at all this wave activity, very clear. So this is that same scene, and we were looking zoomed in on those elements below, and look at these are separate bodies. This is red-pink signature with something big, darker, and purple beyond, and it may be here, or it may be happening all beyond here and be something much larger. So I'm going to say there's some type of huge cloaking craft beyond there. Ripple activity in front of it, either generated by it or as a means of cloaking what's going on in the sky and distracting you to look here. I don't know. See what you think on that one. But again, we have a pure triangle popping up here. And what the heck is happening at C.1? Look at this different color signature with really radically different behavior happening beyond all of this. I'm at a loss for words on that one. What else could be going on? All right, well, this is the photo of the week and the close of the show. Thank you for hanging in here with me. If you've lasted through the whole show, I know it was a little bit longer than I like to keep it. But anyway, these are white ibis on a food run. They were all running just after rain and searching for food. And I love these ibis because when they eat, if you haven't observed any in nature, they dig their beak down into the soil, and they kind of peck in, pretty quickly, rapid succession. And what happens is that the top tip of the beak, like the top half, turns dark because it's got all the mud and dirt on it, and it's otherwise like a nice bright, orange, red-orange. Anyway, thanks for being here, guys and girls and everyone. Thanks for heading over here a while. And I wish you a gorgeous week ahead, and more importantly, a beautiful now. And I wish you tremendous peace and love as always. Lavender Sky Panther. Bye.